Hey, y'all. I'm gonna be 1 minute late. Yeah, sorry. I was fiddling around with my camera. How's it going, everybody? Just gonna jump back into the Urano. Doing more texture work today. It hasn't changed since last time. So we're just picking up exactly where we left off. Just checking something on my screen really quick. Okay, we'll get started. Let's see. Hoot, how's it going? Let's get this out of here. Okay, so last time we got like everything blocked in. So we got all the major colors blocked into the model. So today is going to be more about just refining stuff, refining shapes, refining. It's going to be a lot of controlling the edge quality of the marks on the skin. So if you look right now, if I turn on everything, it's all, I think it's looking pretty good, but the thing about it is it's all very like airbrushy, like kind of spatter paint speckle airbrushy, and I want to get rid of that feeling. And we can keep some of it here and there, but it's just gonna look too blurry. You want to add some nice definition to the edges of things, like make things fade out a certain certain way, like have more kind of irregularity in certain areas. You'll see what I mean as I start getting into it, but that's kind of the goal today, just to kind of take what we've already done and add some more depth to it. So I'm just going to take care of some of the last little areas where I'm seeing like it's just not filled in all the way. I don't want it to cause any issues in the mask. Ooh, I'm doing well, thanks. Doing all right. Let's see. I'm still kind of getting used to this, like talking to everybody in the middle of the week. This week's been kind of strange because I feel like it's like off because Monday was a holiday. So I didn't work on Monday. So it still felt like kind of like the weekend. And then Tuesday felt like Monday. So today feels like I'm offset. Like my days are not in order, you know. So it's been screwing with my brain a little bit. Like this morning, I don't know what I was thinking, but I kind of woke up in a panic. because I thought for some reason, I don't know why, I thought yesterday was Wednesday and I thought I didn't do the stream. So I was like, I thought I completely blanked on the stream and didn't do stream at all. So I was totally like, you know, that feeling when you like wake up late for like class or like for work or something. That like shock of like adrenaline because you like realized you screwed up. That kind of thing. That's what happened to me this morning. And I realized today was Wednesday. So that's how my morning started. And then this week has been pretty chill. Was watching the Walking with Dinosaurs documentary. I don't know if you guys caught that yet. I watched the whole thing already. I won't say too much about it if you guys haven't seen it. No, you guys are fun. It's just a weird holiday. Soda. Love the way the models look in game. Oh, cool. Glad that you enjoy what the end result is. I actually don't know where it's like streaming from. I watched it with a friend of mine and I was just watching whatever they had it going on. So, I don't actually know. What is it streaming on? I know it was on, maybe it's not on stream. Maybe it's like PBS. PBS in the US had it. PBS app. Watch on PBS and the PBS app. So I guess that's where you watch it from. I thought it would have been on like I don't know. Like a bigger streaming platform in addition to PBS, but I guess not. Yeah, that's the thing is like I don't have cable. I just stream stuff from my consoles onto the TV or just like YouTube. I don't have cable anymore. I haven't had cable since I was in college. Yeah. Dinos don't bring the big bucks anymore. All about robots and mechs now. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I guess they do technically still bring in the bucks. It's just they have to be mixed in with stuff, you know. 'Cause I anticipate that that new Jurassic World movie will do pretty well. Um, Stuff like that, you know. Maybe not so much like documentaries, I guess. I don't actually know how it did. Like, I remember when Walking with Dinosaurs, the first one that came out, there was a lot of like people were making a big deal about how, you know, it had about its budget and like how much money it made, and I guess like reviews and stuff like that were pretty good for it, which I think it was an awesome documentary, so it deserved everything that it got, but I have no idea what people are saying about this one. At least not yet. I haven't looked at anything. This is that little square. Okay. Need to get rid of that. Bun Bun. I mean, from what I've seen from the trailer and pre-production of the movie being ready, it's kind of iffy with the mutant dinos human hybrid. Oh, there's a human hybrid? I didn't know there was a human hybrid. I saw the dino hybrids, I guess, like the big T-Rex thing, the D-Rex, and the Mutodons, I think that's what they're calling them. Yeah, I don't know. I'm personally not like a big fan of those things, like the design of those. I thought the Mutodons were going to be much cooler than they actually ended up being. I saw some really awesome artists do like some like fan designs, like anticipating what the Mutodons would look like, and those looked really cool. But the official design was a bit of a letdown. Um, Mutant Dino Hybrid is scrap storyline of the old JP3. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to get excited about Jurassic World, Jurassic. Yeah, I get Jurassic World stuff. I guess I'm a bit jaded or something. I don't know. So a lot of the designs just don't hit for me. So I'm kind of, just to talk about what I'm doing here, I'm just kind of going back and forth a little bit on this edge. Like I want it to be close to the concept. Like I don't want to deviate the shape a lot, but I want to add some sort of like variation in there. So that way it's not all the same texture throughout the thing, you know? It's not the same like fuzzy, grainy looking stuff. It's okay to have some of that, but if it's all of that continuously, that's when it gets kind of monotonous, kind of boring looking. So I don't want to have that happen. We can have some fun too, like getting in some nice subtle little pattern detail in these areas. This stage of the texturing process is kind of like, it's like adding information, extra information, just to make the texture feel more naturalistic, more like, yeah, just more random and believable. Because in the concepts, I think, even though this isn't my concept, I kind of do the same thing where I'm like, I'm much more general about my shapes and like where the colors are going. I just want to get the like gist of the idea down. But when it comes to actually getting it into the game, it needs a lot more explanation, you know. You have to spell out things much more clearly. So I'm trying to find little opportunities to like add some little speckles, little breakups, all that stuff. And I have some cool brushes that can help me with that stuff too. I don't want to go in on that too hard right now because they can kind of take over. But like I can show you some. These are all stuff that I've made. I have much, like a lot more. But like there's cool little like speckly ones that you can throw in just to get a little bit of nice randomization. And then I can come back in with something else and like erase back into them. Stuff like that. A speckle fade? Is that like an official term for this type of pattern? Like on an animal? So I just like all of these brushes these are brushes that are like, I use them for painting as well. So these are brushes that I use for illustrations in addition to doing this. And when I use them for illustrations, they're not actually used. I can use them this way for the like speckle thing. But a lot of times I turn up the spacing and I use them to mimic like the fibers on a brush. So you would see, I wonder if I can do it here. You can adjust. Yeah, you can adjust the spacing. If I adjust the spacing and take off the jitter and take off the angle jitter. I don't know if I can actually get it to mimic what it used to do in Photoshop, but that's where these have their origins. It's all Photoshop stuff. So I tend to use like Photoshop terms for them. Spacing, where's the spacing? There it is. Let me see. This stuff is going to, yeah, okay. I want something more solid here. Probably turn down the opacity too, because I don't want to be so harsh with it. There's going to be a lot of back and forth here, I think. Just on the areas around the spots. Because it needs to like show through the different layers of the texture to kind of culminate in like a certain value, certain mixture of colors. If I don't get that right, it's not gonna look how it should probably look. Punch this area up some more though. There is much more popping through in certain areas than I have represented here right now. Oh no, I'm actually curious. Like if it's because there's lots of different terms for the way just like patterning on animals. Like leopards have rosettes. They're called rosettes. They have the way the spots are shaped. And then there's stuff like counter shading and things like that. I don't know, like I don't study the patterns in that way, like to know like all the specific categories of them, you know, because there's scientists who actually study those. They study the way the patterns form. They study like they identify specific members of like packs by their or pods of whales and stuff like that by their patterning. So they have to have like specific names for like this type of pattern, that type of pattern. So I don't know the terms, you know. So if there is a term that's supposed to be used, I'm probably am not using it. To me, this is just like a speckle brush, splatter brush, whatever I named it over here. Coconut reminds you a bit of bearded dragon markings. I actually wanted to have a bearded dragon. Actually, not too long ago. I don't think I think they're probably too much for me to handle, though. They seem to require a lot of reptiles. Would probably be a lot of maintenance, I think. It's probably best for other people to take care of them than me. Probably a better idea to put these on. That way I know how much I'm revealing. Because it could be too much or too little. This is probably too much. And then I can reveal more on this edge here. Hoot. I would love a reptile, but I have 7 cats and I don't want to stress the poor little. Yeah, that seems. Yeah, they might be maybe a bit too interested in him in his little enclosure, maybe. Cats seem to, pay attention to that stuff. They'll like watch fish in fish tanks and try to get at them and stuff. Depends on how mischievous your cats are, I suppose. Bun. Let's see. Opacity. With darker colors, I normally do 20% in the hardness, and with light, I do about 40% hardness. Okay, so you're building things up much more gradually than I am. Yeah, that could. I've done that before. I'm wondering if that's gonna work out because one of the things that we've kind of been dealing with the textures for the dinos is like how precise to be with the gradients and the edges of the markings, because they need to be able to change. And if the markings are like mixing too much, depending on the color choices you make, they could look funny. So I think I would like to have some gradients and stuff in here, or like kind of build things up slowly. But I'm also a little bit wary of it, you know. Like, we can try it. Let's see. Stroke opacity we'll go to about 30. And see how that does. I tend to like move that slider around all the time too. One thing that I kind of got into a habit because of the way I learned how to use markers. I'm a big fan of like Copic markers. Copic, however you say it. And the way you shade with they have like lots of different marker shades that you can go through. You can buy every shade basically and kind of gradually step the values up or down depending on what you want. But the problem is they're expensive. So people tend to like pick like gradients of colors, but they jump a few steps and then they just blend in between. So like for grayscale stuff, what ends up happening, or at least the way I like to work, is you pick like a 10%, then a 30, and then a 50, and then you have you pick like the odd numbers, so 10, 30, 50, 70, and then you're at max. So from white to black. It's kind of how I kind of treat opacity in Photoshop the same way. It's usually like I'll go 10, 30 is like my low end, and then 50, 70 are my higher ones. This is number 3. There you go. I keep forgetting my shortcuts for the navigation in here. I get kind of jumbled up because I jump from Blender, ZBrush, Substance Painter a lot. And they have like similar navigation, but not quite. Okay. This needs to be... What is this color? this. Why are you not showing up? Colors. Oh, opacity 30. Body. That's working. Coconut. I used to have a small Anole lizard. They were easy to care for since they were small. The only thing was getting the crickets for them to eat. They were fun to have. I've seen some super... They were Anoles, but they were super, super small. Like the size of my thumb, maybe even smaller than that. I don't know if they were just young or if that's just how small they are. It could have been just the species that it was. But they look super cool, but I was like, oh my God, if one of those accidentally got out of the enclosure and like just got, just ran away or jumped away, I don't know if I'd ever be able to find them again. They were super, super tiny. But they were very cool looking. They had really nice colorations on them. They were very bright greens and like little touches of blue. I'm going to come back in and kind of pick. So everything has like a harder edge now, and there's that speckling. But I'm going back with now a softer brush and kind of like picking spots to blur stuff away. So it's kind of, it is a back and forth of finding spots to sharpen, then coming back and taking some away. And then it's a little subjective. Like, I don't necessarily know exactly what I'm looking for when I'm doing this. Like, there's not an exact stopping point. It's just kind of like where I feel it's working. And it's just something that I kind of it kind of has to settle in to itself. If that makes sense. So like right there, I kind of just obliterated all that stuff that I just did, but let me see. I can always come back. Maybe one smaller. There's one ink brush in here that I really like. I think it might be this one. Because it's fairly random, the edges that it makes, or it could be this one. Let me see. Just want to kind of carve into this a little bit. We'll do that same strategy. We will cut into this and get some like interesting shapes there. As interesting as we can. And then we'll kind of come back and fuzz certain parts out. So I like this gradient that's happening here down into this area. That's pretty much what's on the concept. So I don't want to screw up that value too much. This top edge could be a little bit more blended, I suppose. This is... let's see. Birds, you can take a picture from your mind and make a computer show you that image with the skills and tools you have, and that's magical to me. Highly impressed by all. Keep up the hard work. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not sure if I've ever asked you. Are you? Do you do any type of artwork? Maybe. I can't remember if I asked you. I'm sorry if I'm asking again. Yeah, I guess it is like a weird thing. Like, if you think about it, it's kind of like a weird phenomena that happens, I suppose. I once kind of tried to explain to somebody the way I see things, because they would ask me like, well, how do you like even draw? Like, how do you go about drawing something? Like, how does it come about in your mind? Or like, how do you begin to process something? And for me, it's like, it's kind of, like if I were to look down at a piece of paper, depends on how clear the idea is. If I don't know what I'm drawing, then it can be kind of a struggle. But normally I have some sort of idea. And if it's a super clear idea, I'm not always lucky enough to have those like just pop into my head. But sometimes there are moments where an idea for a creature is like super vivid and I can just see it in my mind. In those cases, when I'm looking at like a computer screen or a piece of paper, it's almost like I can see it already on the page. Almost like if you were to imagine like a projector, like the way you can see like a ghosted image on a wall or something. That's the way it kind of appears to me. And then I'm basically like resolving it on the paper or on the screen. Other times, like I said, it's not really that clear. So I'll just kind of have to like start making marks and like fumble my way through it. Like I know generally where, oh, this is where a head's going to go. This is where a body, this is where their hand is. But then I'll have to like search for it. And that's where like the sketchiness comes from. Because I'm like searching for the shape. Sometimes it like emerges from the sketchy marks. Sometimes it's like, I have to, sometimes it just feels like a lot of work. Like you really have to stop and think and process what you're trying to get out and how you want it to feel, how you want it to look. But I don't know if that's necessarily what everyone else experiences. That's just kind of like how I would describe it, I suppose. Coconut, do you have any tips or know a good way to learn Blender? I want to use it for sculpting and animating, but the tutorials on YouTube are tricky. That is a good question. It's yeah, if you're not finding the tutorials on, that's kind of how I learned to use Blender, is through tutorials on YouTube. But it was like very specific things. So it wasn't like there was one Blender tutorial that kind of did it all for me. It was honestly like a mixture of many. So I can't really say that I know that there's one like Blender for beginners tutorial, and you can kind of get the whole basics of just one place. That kind of stuff might have changed now, like more recently. But for me, it was like I had a very specific problem, and then I had to figure out how to solve it in Blender. So like, Like, yeah, it started mostly because I wanted to render stuff. You know, I would make a model, and then I wanted to export that model and render it in a different, because ZBrush doesn't really render stuff. It's not using cameras and lights and stuff. So I had to. It was either use oh man, what the heck then is the name of that program? It was like a really popular renderer that like I think ZBrush even like kind of partnered with them, and they like packaged it with ZBrush sometimes. I can't remember. It's slipping my mind. But anyway, it was either use that renderer or Blender, and Blender was free. So that's how I started using Blender. I would just export my models, pop them into Blender, and then I had to learn how to first navigate around the scene, how to position my models. So it's mostly like viewport navigation, and there's like a lot of places where you can find good information about that stuff. It's pretty it's pretty basic, I guess, but there are some little tricks that you can do to navigate around there much better. Especially if you're like sculpting, I imagine you would want to use like your pen instead of your mouse. But yeah, it was kind of a gradual buildup of like, how do I put my model in there? Okay, how do I move it around? Now, how do I set up a camera? How do I put lights in? And it kind of just built up on top of itself. I still don't really know how to. Majority of my stuff in Blender is mostly rendering and posing models. I still don't really know how to sculpt in Blender. That's something that I'm interested in learning, but I haven't really gotten around to it yet. That's kind of a challenge I would want to take on soon, though, I think. I think it would be fun. I've always been curious how Blender compares to ZBrush. Because one really nice thing about Blender is that I could go straight from like blocking in a model to like seeing how it would look in a render, or I could like rig it and pose it right away. With ZBrush, there's a bunch of steps you have to go through to get it ready, and it's kind of like, you can definitely do it. Like you could block out a model and then pose it and then render it up. But the way you go about it is just kind of like a little bit awkward, I would say. So it's very tempting to try to learn how to do that in Blender for me. But yeah, sorry, I don't really, because that would be my best recommendation for you, is just to go on YouTube and find a tutorial. But if that's not really working, I mean, you could try just, instead of going on YouTube, you can try looking at specific ones from like Gumroad. If you go on Gumroad, there might be somebody who does like a really specific tutorial on just like Blender basics, or there's always like Flip Normals. I think they have their own marketplace, and Blender Marketplace. CG Cookie, I think, has stuff. So you could try those places and see if you find anything that seems like it would answer the questions that you're looking for. But of course, a lot of those would be paid. So if you're not looking to spend a ton of money, then I mean, it's not a ton of money. Usually you're looking at maybe like what, 15-20 bucks on your average tutorial. So it's not like a lot of money, but if you're just trying to learn for free, then that might not be the best way. I think definitely sculpting and animation is what I want to learn in Blender. Because I would love to be able to take a 3D model and like actually make it not anything like super fancy. Like I don't want to. I'm not out here trying to be a Pixar animator or anything. But just like maybe like a simple walk cycle, or even just like a cool, like a roar or something would be fun. Okay. Coconut. There are huge anole lizards called Cuban night anoles. Okay. They look terrifying compared to the little ones. Okay. I think I might have seen images of those. I'll just look one up right now. So I think I know what you're... Yeah. These guys are cool. They are really big compared to what I saw, though. One of the reasons why anoles have always like stuck out to me, it might be kind of silly, but it's because of Animorphs. You guys have seen or read those. I was a huge Animorphs fan. And that the first book cover of that series, it has an anole. Yeah. This guy. I used to think these, I mean, I still think these are really cool. They definitely look strange, but they're super eye-catching on the bookshelf. Especially for, a kid like me, during like a book fair or something. Yeah, I think the story is just really cool. One, two, three, four, five. Two birds. I drew when I was a teen, but never really had guidance or encouragement. So the interest faded with time. Ah, okay. I see. Well, if you ever care to take it up again and you want to draw or do something alongside me, that would be awesome. I would definitely be willing to share or help in any way I can. I miss book fairs. These were the only place I felt at home during school. Yeah, book fairs were awesome. Those were like my favorite like I guess events, right, at school. I mean, I love going into bookstores, like any bookstore. That's a place that I want to go and check out. There's some really cool ones that I've been into, especially around. I used to live in Denver. There's a few cool ones, and then here in Portland, there are some really nice ones too. They're very like some of them are very like what you would imagine like a bookstore in like Harry Potter would be, like just like tons of books piled on top of each other, like multiple levels, like dusty, like they're really cool. I found some of my favorite books growing up in some like used bookstores like that. My parents used to save all year for me to be able to get whatever I wanted at the book fair. They really encouraged me reading. Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah, I'd be able to get a couple things at the book fair. My parents didn't really mind getting books for me because I think they saw them as like they were really more like stingy, I guess, when it came to like buying me toys and stuff because they saw it as like kind of silly stuff. So they were like much more resistant to me like asking for an action figure than they were if I would ask for a book. So it was actually a lot easier for me to get books than like a cool like figure that I wanted. That came in handy when book fairs came around. You paint Warhammer minis. That if that can, yeah, that of course counts. Warhammer minis are no joke. Like the amount of skill and patience that is required to paint those, that is super impressive to me. Because I had an army of Tyranids, but I never got around to painting them just because I was overwhelmed by the sheer number, you know. So anybody who has the patience to go through a whole army and make them look cool and cohesive and all that stuff is really impressive. Coconut, thank you for the feedback. Appreciate it. I think definitely do specific ones because right now I'm not great with how to sculpt things. I think maybe I should look into key shortcuts. Usually watch full automation on YouTube to Blender time-lapse sculpts, and thought maybe I should try to learn it because they make the model and animate it and it looks really fun. Yeah, it definitely does. Bun, I'm back. Did not have fun trying to explain 3D modeling and coding models into a game and or into game as a mod. To a friend of mine. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope it wasn't like too bad for you. Uh-oh. There's my doggo. I have my window open because it's getting warm up here. Now that summer's... Is it officially summer yet? Or is that still... I have no idea. Come here. Yeah, I have the window open because a lot of houses in Portland area don't come with air conditioning because I guess people didn't think it was ever going to get hot out here. So my house does not have air conditioning. So whenever... And then I have my PC. My PC... It runs really hot, so it makes my whole room pretty hot in the summer. I have my window open and the dog hears all of the little neighbors' dogs barking around, moving around out there, so she might be announcing herself more and more. They wanted to know everything, and I had to crunch it down into 10-minute explanation. Oh no, yeah, that doesn't sound fun. Definitely not something you can explain in 10 minutes. Yeah, I think I've taught many friends how to sculpt in ZBrush and some Blender stuff and some Substance Painter stuff, but it's always been okay, you want to learn, then we're going to set aside some at least a couple hours, and I'll show you how to go through all this stuff. And we go through it, and they have a bunch of questions, and I try to do my best to answer those, but it's definitely easier to work through it with them over a couple hours, at least a couple hours sessions, than it would be just to explain it verbally to them. I don't know if I could do that. You have to finish an army. What army are you working on? Is it for you or is it for somebody else? Because I know a lot of people do they'll paint whole armies commissions and stuff too. Labrat. That's right. I remember you from last time. I remember your name. I hope I'm saying it right. Welcome back. Good to see you again. Is it Labrat or Labrat? It might just be Labrat, and I'm like adding like additional flavor to it. Sorry. Okay. So I have. Okay. Yeah, I just read your name and I was like, I might just be exaggerating a little bit of those vowels and syllables when I don't need to. But yeah, welcome back. Yeah, I wanted to do that, but they had other things to do, so it was not fun explaining both 3D modeling and coding. Yeah, especially coding. That's something I'm also interested in. I've tried coding in the past, like a long, long time ago, and it just did not click with me. I don't know if I'm one of the types of, like, my brain just doesn't comprehend, you know. I don't know if I'm cut out to be a coder. But who knows? You know, if I tried it again, maybe it would be better, but I have no idea. I'd rather explain both 3D modeling coding over a few hours. Maybe I read that again. Coding doesn't click with me either. That's kind of the reason I make game mods rather than actual games. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's I will say it could have been the teacher. Not to say that they were like a bad teacher or anything. It's just there's some people that, like, their teaching styles just don't click with me. Like, I'm a very visual person. I'm a person that needs to, like, actually be shown examples. Like, it helps when a teacher, like, actually works through it and, like, shows me, like, this step and this step equals this step, or, like, they go through the process and they kind of, like, share that, you know. The person that was teaching me the coding stuff, they were just, like, more like book stuff, like, you know, just look at the book, you know. They would just, like, read off stuff and, like, that that kind of method just doesn't feel super engaging, and it's not really, because the book will like, there were like examples in the book, you follow things step by step, but inevitably like there's stuff that goes wrong, and the book doesn't have like solutions to that, and then the person will like come by and just like fix it and not really explain how they fixed it. So I kind of just like fell by the wayside, I guess. I kind of like scraped it together enough to pass the class, but I didn't really retain any info. That was the same thing with like, I had the same teacher for chemistry and for physics. Not the guy that was teaching the programming stuff, but I had the teacher for chemistry and physics. He taught me this. He taught both subjects, and he was very similar. And like, he was just like, look at the book, do the examples in the book. There's lots of like problems in chemistry of like, it's kind of, I guess it's math, just the way that molecules combine and so on. But yeah, I didn't get a lot out of those classes for that reason. It actually kind of turned me off to those subjects, I think, just because the experience was kind of just not fun, and I just seemed to be really bad at it. I'm the type of person that's like of the opinion that like very few people are just like genuinely bad at something. I think it all depends on the way they're shown the information, or like the way they're taught how to do the thing. That's like the issue. Because not everybody like learns in the same way. And I think the way that people are taught can really impact their interests. And I think that's kind of what happened to me with all of that. I'm kind of curious if I tried it again, would I learn anything? Would I be better at it? You know. Coding sounds scary. I just think of the Matrix. Yeah. Definitely depended on the teacher. Labra, I'm personally a hands-on learner. Yeah, me too. Bun. I found it's better with the teacher visually showing you how to do something and to make it work. And it's how I learned 3D modeling. I had many friends that knew modeling show me how to do it. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So I did this. I don't know if you guys can see it. I guess you would have to compare. You'd have to compare the stream from last week to the stream from this week. But I did a thing in Substance Painter that's supposed to make the viewport display the model much more closely to the way it will display in an Unreal. So that's why the model might look different from now, or from then until now. But I'm just turning back the material on just to check stuff. It does look. I'm really liking the way that the scales show up on the dark color here. I think that looks cool. And that blue really pops. One thing that I could do, I see it in the concept. So in the concept, there's like areas where it's like darker, and then there's little pops of bright blue. On the scales, like individual scales, which could be cool. I have no idea how this is going to be to like translate into the skin like design system that we have. But, you know, I think it's worth a shot because I think it'll look pretty cool. Where the heck is it? Base color. Coconut, I think if you try it again, you definitely do better. It's like when you watch a movie as a kid and watch it again as an adult and realize you didn't understand a lot of things happening in the movie. Yeah, I agree. I think the chances are it would go much better. Because as a kid, another thing as a kid, I wasn't like a kid. I was, at the time I was learning that stuff, I was in high school. So I wasn't like super young, but I think I was way more like if I didn't understand something, I was way less likely to ask questions. Whereas now, because there's like a self-conscious aspect to it. Like I didn't want people to think I was stupid or like, judge me for like not getting something quick enough or like extending the class longer than it should have been. There's always that type of people too. But now that I'm older and then going through college and stuff, I don't really care. Like if I don't understand something, I'm gonna ask. I don't really care if I look dumb or not. It took like a long time to get to that point though. Working in video games actually helped me there, because working with the team and like having other people rely on you to like get stuff done, you really don't have a choice. Like if you don't understand something, you could potentially impact later stages of the process for people that are relying on you to get it right. So it's very important that you understand what your steps are. So if I'm not understanding something, it's really important that I speak up and ask. Like during this process. So this whole process of making textures for Echoes of Extinction has been a pretty big learning process for me, because there's a very specific way that these textures need to be like set up. The way the UVs have to be set up, the way the model has to be set up for the UVs to work, to like, there's all a specific order and like a specific reason why some of these things need to be structured the way they are. And it was different from what I was normally used to. Because I'm normally used to like just making stuff for either like film production stuff, where it's like all like super high, as high resolution as you can get it, and it's all meant to be like lots of UDIMs. I don't know if you guys know what UDIMs are. Super high resolution textures, lots and lots of like, I would have all of these. Like you can see here, I'm only limited to 6 layers, but on a model like I would usually be doing that isn't for games, there would be way more. The amount of color variety and stuff that like goes through the roof with that sort of thing. So it's been really important for me to ask a lot of questions in this project. Unfortunately, my other team members have been very nice about answering all of my questions. The single color scales are common in small scaled reptiles from what I've noticed. Makes interesting textures. Oh, yeah, like, is there a specific type of reptile you've seen that in? We were talking about the anoles and bearded dragons earlier. Oh, dude, I get so mixed up with the panning. There we go. In here, it's Control Alt to pan. I need to start coming back in with these harsher edges, I think. Just a little bit in here. And then, so I want to make sure that it's actually corresponding to a scale as best as I can, at least. I don't like it's pretty distracting. Where is this layer? This is the roughness. I'm going to duplicate that layer. I don't really want the roughness displayed. I just want, I'm going to set this to multiply. I just want like kind of a delineation from where each scale is. So I'm going to get this. Yeah, that's basically what I want. I just want like a line art, I guess. Line art separation. That won't be there when I'm done. But for right now, just to see where the scales are and not have to turn on this and see all the crazy like specularity. Let me get this back to where. Yeah, that's what I want. So I don't have to look at, like, process it through the specularity. I want that sort of outline. Okay. I'm gonna go back to the color. That's really bright. I want to stick here and do like just a few little and then when we come in and do Oh, I gotta erase that. You come in here and do this like full saturation on certain scales, especially like closer in the center, it looks like. I think it's gonna look pretty cool. You don't have to be like super precise. Just a little bit in here. I go. Okay. The other thing I'll probably do is add a bit of, I won't do this till later, but add a bit of warping to this. Could make some interesting little irregularities in the surface that'll help me with a little bit more just variation. These guys over here get, for some reason this one is really like, in the concept it's pretty weak. I don't know if that's intentional. I think I might just keep it the same intensity as the rest of them. If I need to tone that down later, I can. Makes it almost feel iridescent. Yeah. That could be, I was thinking of the same iridescent blue like on a butterfly or something. Bun. I hope I explained correctly on what you were trying to say earlier about texturing being moderately new to you. Moderately new to me. Oh, you mean like the specific texturing for Echoes. I think I understand what you meant. Yeah, texturing isn't. I should correct myself, I guess, if maybe I didn't explain well enough. But I've been texturing for quite a while. It's just this is a very specific type of requirement. Like, it's more restrictive. When I do other stuff like where's my art station? I don't have a ton of good examples. I should post more stuff. But like this guy. This is an older guy, but there's a lot more complexity that I'm allowed to use in this stuff like this. Whereas in the stuff we're doing for Echoes, a lot of this like variation, because there's like, if you look at this orange color here, like in his crest and stuff, like there's probably like, I don't know, there's probably 2 or 3 layers just to make this orange gradient. Whereas here, that probably wouldn't work the same. Like we would probably have to just use one orange, you know? And then the way that it's structured in the, like this stuff, like these types of things, like this has like tons of like different tans and oranges and browns, and there's like reddish browns and cooler browns, and there's just a lot going on. He's got dust and stuff on him too. Like this stuff is, in a way, it's a lot easier to do this than it is to do something more restrictive like this. But there's other stuff too that's kind of different. I wish I have a bunch of other fully textured models that I need to post. I realize now that you mentioned that it's kind of underrepresented in my portfolio. I do have a model that I'm finishing up right now that I'm pretty excited about, though, that I'm going to be posting soon. Oh, thanks, Librat. I appreciate it. Yeah, that to me looks pretty cool. I mean, I can spend a while like really being nitpicky about stuff like this. But this like kind of gradual little breakup where it's like more concentrated on the inside, much brighter, and then it kind of fades out. It looks pretty cool, I think. Let me see how it looks. Yeah, when the light catches it, it's looks pretty nice, I think. Coconut, sorry, I missed a question from you earlier. How come I'm limited to only 6? I think that's just the number of colors. Well, so there's these channels that you can slot color maps to. Like if you were to look at a Photoshop document and you went into the channels tab, you would see that you have RGB. Those are 3 channels. You technically also have in textures in video games, you have alpha as another channel. So there's 4. And then the way we're breaking these up was we're using so we have red, green, blue. And we have cyan, magenta, and yellow, and then black. So it's technically 7, I believe. But each of these colors are mapped to masks in the game, and each mask controls the manipulation of a color. So, like, if you were playing the game and you say you wanted to change the colors of these blue spots to a different color, you could potentially isolate that color and change that specifically to a different color. And you could technically do that with each of the separate colors that I'm painting on right now. But you have limitations. You can't like put an infinite amount of colors in there, because 1, that's a lot of work to ask somebody to do, and then 2, there's not enough the channels don't correspond properly. So we're kind of maxing out our color customization, you know. I hope that explanation makes sense. I had to have it explained to me many times. Well, it's what I mean by maxing out Bun Bun is like there's only so many slots you can have a color for. Because technically I could make a skin that's just as varied as any of my other skins that I've done in the past, and the game would run fine because it would just all those colors are just on one texture. It's just if you want to customize the color, that's where you need to split them off like this. That way you can isolate each color and change them depending on what the player wants. So you're saying that Beast in Bermuda has 20 options for color variations? That is insane. I haven't played that game, so I don't really know what they're doing out there. Hoot birds, I'm not sure about that. I don't know if they'll be monetized in the game. Being able to be manipulated by the players so the skin feels unique rather than limiting with like you can only choose 7 predetermined colors. That's pretty interesting. I'll tell you what though. Well, I guess it wouldn't be too bad. But like I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how they're managing that behind the scenes, in their like actual texture sheets and stuff, like what they're actually exporting, and how they're setting up their texture files, like their Substance Painter files, to do that. Seems like more of a tech artist thing than for me to worry about, though. Yeah, that's true. Labrat is like, I think limitations are good, in some respects, because it does give the player like a lot of player like expression. But for me personally, this is just my opinion. It's not reflective of what's happening in the game or anything. This is just me talking for me. It would be really immersion breaking if like I was playing the game and then all of a sudden I'm trying to like be sneaky or something, and then like one of my pack members has like neon yellow and pink and like, you know, and they're just like hanging out next to me, and we're trying to like hide in the forest or something. I would find that very not great. From what I know, there's 15 different skins. Each skin has around 20 or so layers, depending on the skin. Each layer is able to do all of the RGB range. And one friend of mine made it to where all 15 skins were all layered onto one dino, and it had 40 layers. Wow. Yeah, it would be interesting to see. Like I said, I haven't played that. I haven't played that game. So is it just like free range? Like the players just pick whatever colors they want on the dinos, on any dino? I'd imagine there's like some crazy like psychedelic colors in there, possibly. But then again, I don't really know what Beast of Bermuda is like going for in terms of like their tone of the game. Wow. Okay. I don't know. Ah, okay. I get what you guys are saying. Yeah, it's actually been a while since I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. I haven't really checked in on Beast of Bermuda for a long time. Same thing with a lot of other games in kind of this genre. I don't really know what's. I think it's probably better that way, maybe. I think it helps me come to Echoes of Extinction with a little bit more fresh of a mind. All right, everybody. I think I'm gonna wrap up the stream right now. Trying to think if there's anything I need to announce. I don't think so. Yeah, we're gonna keep on going with the Purosaurus on Saturday morning. If you guys are around, come and hang out and check out the Peru. If not, then don't worry. I know it's kind of early. Next week, I'm not sure if we're gonna keep going with the textures. It depends on what I'm able to get through. I might do some work on this, and you might see it like much more developed, or we might just be picking up where we left off, like we did this week. It really depends, but we'll see. But next Wednesday should still be good to go for the stream at the same time. And yeah, I think that's all I have to announce. Thanks guys for hanging out today, and chatting with me, keeping me company while I'm working on this texture. And I'll see you next week, or Saturday maybe. Take care, guys. Have a good rest of your week. Bye bye.